Ready?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Hello out there in Packer Nation, and welcome to episode 40 of the Absolute Packer Podcast. So we are officially middle-aged, and we might feel even older than that after the performance we saw with the Packers against the Bears in Soldier Field this past week. Whether it was good, the Packers were pretty beat up in terms of injuries on both sides of the ball. Let's not kid ourselves. They had a lot of injuries. The Bears did not. Started out pretty well in general, but Rodgers was off again. It was kind of a microcosm of the season in many ways. And I don't know if I've seen him miss more long shots as bad as he did today. And it's just it's troubling to say the least, no matter who's throwing the ball to. And then, they kind of kept it close for 3 quarters, and then, like anything, the way things have gone this year, the fourth quarter they wilt, and they just basically, it went away. And I think the nail in the coffin was probably when that guy took it was a punt return way back to like the Packer 10-yard line. That was probably when everything was out of reach.
Which is horrible coverage, by the way. Horrible coverage.
Yeah, I saw that.
They were all flooded to one side of the field and left the left side completely wide open.
Yeah. But
We don't use nails in the coffin. We use daggers. That was the dagger.
Like Wayne Larrivee always says, there's your dagger.
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
But you're due for at least one bad special teams play per week with Zook back as your guy. Some surprise they made as far as they did, but like I said, they were missing. Correct me if I'm wrong, but they were missing 3 of the 5 offensive linemen again, both guards and the right tackle. And then I think one of the backups got hurt. So the offensive line is an absolute shambles, but that still doesn't really give Rodgers a full pass on some of these passes he's missing. We can go into more detail about certain drives, certain plays, but that's kind of where this thing's at. I mean, at the end of the game, they're officially eliminated from the playoffs, and I think this is also officially the end of the dreams of anybody who thought Joe Philbin might be the next head coach. I, for one, did not want to be that coach, but after this, it ain't gonna happen. And it wasn't like they got blown out. It's just it was more of the same. Aaron Jones got hurt and left. I think he had an MCL or some kind of knee injury. It was I don't know. That's really about all I can say. If you guys want to pop in,
They are who they are. I mean, they're 5-8-1. I don't think we all predicted the Packers were going to finish under 500 this year. I think we all thought at least 8-8, if not 9-7. But unfortunately, that's not going to happen this year. I'm going to get on the banging the Aaron Rodgers train.
You better be careful, buddy.
Yeah, trust me, I know that. I've been called out many times for it.
Pitchforks and torches coming to your house. Yeah.
Yep, I already have one in my back. But there's a lot of video evidence that can prove many things. The one thing I can tell you from yesterday was he left 3 TDs out there on the field. St. Brown in the first half in the end zone. It was a horrible, horrible, horrible pass. I think what he tries to do is he tries to throw to a spot, and that's what his MO is. But he needs to fray from that, because that's not going to always happen with young receivers. He has to just throw to the open guy. The second touchdown was MVS, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, on that go route where he
had him. He had him on 3 steps.
Yep, easy. Easy touchdown.
God. And he overthrew him by 4 or 5 yards.
At least. And towards the end, when we were down by 10, 4 minutes to go, we had Jimmy Graham in the end zone, and he threw it behind him sorely and allowed the defender to get his hands on the ball, knocked it up in the air, went for an interception.
I don't know if we'll necessarily blame Graham on that, but Graham hasn't looked very engaged with his team, and part of me is almost like, well, I can't blame you, but still, broken thumb or not, it's
no. But let me read. There was, before the season started, there was on For the Win. It's a USA Today article from I'm gonna blank on the date here. I just printed it off today, but it doesn't say the date. But basically, what they did is they rated all the quarterbacks out there. It was more so for fantasy football ratings, but they also graded him on his accuracy, decision making, arm strength, pre-snap creativity, and pocket presence. Before the season went in, he was ranked as a second highest quarterback behind Tom Brady.
Okay.
And to give you, it was a 1 to 10 scale. They graded Aaron Rodgers' accuracy at 9.5, his decision making 9.5, his arm strength at 10, his pre-snap at 9.5, creativity 10, and pocket presence 8.5. And this is what they said of Aaron Rodgers, quote, Aaron Rodgers is the most gifted player we've ever seen at the quarterback position. Quarterbacks with big arms aren't supposed to be as accurate as he is. Quarterbacks who like to move aren't supposed to be able to read defenses like he does. But Rodgers does it all, and he does it at a very high level. He may hold onto the ball a little longer than he should, but that's really the only area where the two-time MVP can improve. Unquote. So accuracy, let's touch on the accuracy part. He has based his game solely off of accuracy in his career. I shouldn't say solely, but a lot of his game has been predicated on accuracy. Yesterday it was sorely lacking. I've heard the excuses that, he hurt his play on the last play before halftime. He pulled his groin or whatever. I guess if here's the deal. If you're hurt and you can't be productive out there, then go to the bench. Otherwise, produce. I mean, that's where we're at with him. We paid him a large sum of money to be the best quarterback in the league. And is he anywhere near that right now? No. I mean, I saw some other publication that he's the 28th ranked quarterback in the league currently as we stand today.
Jesus fucking Christ.
So
but doesn't really surprise me. I mean, he got outplayed by Mitch Trubisky. Sorry. Yeah, thoroughly outplayed.
You know what? And here's the deal. And a lot of people keep on saying, well, he has very little around him. I'm not going to disagree with that. I'm going to agree with you wholeheartedly. But we are paying him 16% of the cap, 18% of the cap next year, 20% of the cap in 2020. And so on and so forth. He's going to be taking a large sum of our salary cap. So I can tell you one thing. We're not going to be big players in free agency. We're not going to be able to go out and get the Khalil Macks, those types of players. They're going to be second fringe type guys. So it puts all the onus, it puts all the pressure on Aaron Rodgers to literally be God and carry this team on his shoulders. Is he capable of doing it? He has done it in the past. Can he do it? That's the thing that we don't know. We don't know that. And this offseason is going to be huge for many areas of this team, but probably the biggest area where it's going to be a huge offseason is for Aaron. I think he has to work on his mental game. I think he has to work on his footwork. I think he has to work on the one thing that he also took pride in was being able to see the whole field. And I see him now keying in on receivers, and he misses other guys in the play. And when he keys in on one guy, like he did yesterday to Devontae Adams multiple times, the defenses are going to see that. It's kind of like a rookie quarterback who keys in, and never leaves that receiver and then finds out he's going the other way for a touchdown. So there's many things that he needs to work on this year or this offseason, and the biggest thing to me is his attitude. I don't know if that's ever going to change, if he's always just going to be kind of, out there lightheaded. I don't know what it is, but he's just not the leader that I think can carry this team like a Charles Woodson did back in 2010, who just carried this team on his shoulders and was the vocal and the leader, the true leader, where he led this team by example. He led this team by his positive words, his positive speeches. We're not going to get that from Aaron Rodgers. So, and considering that he is your quarterback, we should expect something from him besides just great play, which has not happened this year at all.
Yeah, he's surly. I would say, he's always been pretty surly and passive aggressive, and he can be obtuse even at times. Now, there's another thing I would argue he's going to have to work really, really hard at in the offseason. What do you think that would be?
Mary Danica?
No. Learn a new offensive scheme.
Oh, yeah. Good one.
Because I don't think they want to bring in a guy who is going to just be Mike McCarthy 2.0, or it ain't going to be Philbin, better not be. So it should be a new offense. And so maybe it won't be a completely new offense, but something different. And he better be, churning on all cylinders from day one on that thing. So I was just thinking as you were talking, I mean, he's a really cerebral, intelligent player, but it's going to kind of be starting over for him in a way. Should be, at least in some way. So we'll see what kind of mettle he has from that perspective.
It will be a start over for him, but I mean, if any player can do it, it's him, because he's literally a coach on the field. It's just that he's not a coach per se, by taking what he knows and teaching the guys around him the little intricacies of the game that he knows about. He just doesn't do that,
Yeah, you know what he does? In a way, he's like that Michael Jordan, where he's like, I don't know if he's a Michael Jordan per se, but what I mean by that is there's some of those great athletes that can elevate the play of others, right?
Yes.
And then there's some of those great athletes that just expect the other athletes around them to be as good as them. And I think he's more of the latter. It's kind of hard to quantify, but I think he's kind of like that. He is just so talented that has been, that he like you said, he's been able to cover all that stuff up. But then when there's a little dip there, or he's getting older and he's had injuries, things are sliding.
Right, and there's comments from the Super Bowl team, namely Desmond Bishop, who said that Aaron relished challenges, that he pretty much put the team on his shoulders, and he embraced that analogy. Where has that gone?
Yeah. You wonder if it's still there. Is it still there? Or maybe, to your point, I mean, people say, did he get McCarthy fired? Probably. And maybe the next challenge was, I need to get this guy fired and bring in somebody new. That's his new challenge. It sounds weird to say, but maybe that's his new challenge he wants.
Yeah. Jeez. I mean, you can definitely say all that, but here's the challenge that he doesn't understand is that, honestly, he as much as Murphy talks a position up, he has made this position very unattractive for certain individuals out there.
The coaching,
right? And I don't know if Bruce Arians would have ever considered here, but I mean, the day of, he went out into the media and said, "I have no interest." So did that have anything to do with the fact that he wants to go to Cleveland, or he just didn't want to have anything to do with an arrogant, bullheaded quarterback? I don't know, but I think the position then, as far as the next coach, it really kind of narrows it down to a certain level or certain caliber of a coach that I don't think is out there truly, know.
And
I mean, we need like a Bill Parcells type, who's an offensive guru, who's pretty much going to tell him, "You're the player, I'm the coach. You freaking listen."
You almost need like a quick fix type coach, which is what Parcells could be, because whoever would be coming in, they're not. Let's face it, they wouldn't be coming in. They'd be coming in for. They'd be their window to be very successful with Rodgers, let's say, would be 4 to 5 years max, right? So you're not coming into this, completely from scrap and then kind of on the uptick, which appears to be what Cleveland is. They got Baker Mayfield. They're finally hitting on some picks. The Packers they're starting to bottom out, so they're going to bottom out before they even come back, if that makes sense. So yeah, it is kind of a weird coaching vacancy. And in the messages that you and I sent back and forth the other day, I think I said, whatever coach comes in needs to sit Rodgers down and say, "Hey, look, are you interested in getting rings, or are you interested in getting MVPs? Because if it's the latter, we can't work together."
Exactly.
That's about the best way I could put it. And, I think a huge part of them is stats and records and all that. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. What was the number one record that Brett Favre wanted and cherished? Consecutive game streak. Exactly. Right. I mean, he always said, and toned that down, but bullshit, Those types of records where they're all time records. They know about them and they really want to keep them. Rodgers had, 404 passes without an interception. So he broke consecutive passes. He broke Tom Brady's record by like 20 something odd passes. But then he threw an interception, which is like that's Murphy's Law. They were talking about on TV, and then the one that bounced off Jimmy Graham's hands. But yeah, Go ahead.
And there are many players over the years that have spoke up against Brett Favre, or excuse me, Aaron Rodgers. Jermichael Finley probably being the most vocal.
Yeah, I remember some
who
of that.
pretty
really
much said, "quote unquote," he wasn't put on this earth to lead. You know, that's telling. Greg Jennings, you can take his words with a grain of salt, but he also said some damning things as far as Rodgers being the type of leader that everybody wants, which, you know, leaders are always known for having a few defining characteristics. One of them is being a voice, you know, having a voice that just carries and everybody listens. You know, people literally will drop their phone to listen to that person talk. Number two, carry themselves with integrity. You know, not pointing
and not
out,
blame other people.
Yes, that's exactly.
He's constantly passive aggressively or on the field. I've never seen a guy with worse body language. And people go, body language is not that big of a deal. Well, sure, maybe it's not that big of a deal, but at this point in his career and at this state of the team, he's got to clean that shit up. You know,
Yeah,
this isn't the Packers in 2008. This is the Packers in 2018. It's a different. It's a different time and a different tick in his point in his career and whatnot. Before we get too far, though, I do want to say that, I mean, Mike Pettin, that guy he has made chicken salad out of chicken shit time and time again. He's done outstanding work, I have to say. And I really hope they can get him to come back. I have no clue, Reed, if he would or wouldn't or whatever, but I hope they can, because I like everything I see about the guy, because if there's anybody working with a low amount of talent, it's the defense that has the least amount of talent and the most injuries. So I think he's doing outstanding work with the junk he has.
Right.
But no, it's kind of like when Mike Sherman got fired, and I think McCarthy offered the defensive coordinator position to Jim Bates. You remember that? Because Jim Bates actually did pretty good, and Jim Bates just said, the hell with it, you know. But Jim Bates also wanted to be the head coach, if I remember correctly. So it was kind of like he got spurned by that. But Pettin has said he doesn't want to be a head coach again. And I mean, if that's true, if he can get along with the next guy, I just hope they can keep Pettin. It kind of is what I'm saying. I really like what I'm seeing there.
Yeah, I mean, everything that you've seen thus far, I mean, he's done with a blank slate. I mean, literally, it's been tissue paper and throwing stones on it. I mean,
they've almost had to move like cornerbacks to defensive line and just like crazy just positions. They've had so many damn injuries, and the lack of speed at linebacker is just, they have got to have the slowest linebackers in the league by a long shot. I mean, did you see the speed of the linebackers on the Bears?
Yeah.
Night and day, and I'm talking inside. They play a 4-3, don't they? I can't remember.
3-4.
3-4. But even their inside linebackers. Let's just talk about those. Night and day. They had inside linebackers covering receivers on some routes. If you get any Packers inside linebacker ever covering even like a tight end, it's a mismatch. So just the dearth of not only talent but speed is just alarming.
Right. And I mean, you talk about the linebackers. This team has so many needs.
Yeah.
And legitimately, you can only fill, in my eyes, maybe 3 to 4 of those needs per offseason. And what I mean by that is, with the salary cap the way that it is, the draft the way that it is, injuries. You have to, number one, you have to be on point with all of your free agent pickups, which this year, obviously, with Jimmy Graham totally letting us down, Muhammad Wilkerson, got hurt. The free agents that we went out there and got have not panned out. The draft so far, Jair Alexander has shown a lot, but we have nobody that really stands out quite yet.
Yeah, the rest of the draft hasn't been as good. I mean, J.K. Scott, he's a punter, for Christ's sake. Okay, you got a punter, and he's actually been, I'd say, inconsistent. He hasn't been horrible, but at first he was doing great, and now he's just kind of leveled off. They have a freaking long snapper, was another draft pick, so you're like, he's a long snapper, yay. That third round draft, Oren Burks, he's not seeing any of the field at all. That's not a good sign.
I don't get that.
Not a good sign. Who was the other pick I'm thinking of? I don't know. I can't remember all the picks. I'm sorry.
Josh Jackson.
And he looked pretty darn good, but he has taken a big step back.
Yes, he has.
I mean, if you look at the impact of this year's draft, it really is Alexander and J.K. Scott, and then I guess we'll say Hunter Bradley, right?
Mhm.
And so really, it's one guy. It's Alexander. The rest of the guys are either not seeing the field because they're not good enough, i.e. Burks, or I mean, even but Jackson, they need him just due to injuries, but he's not progressing. In fact, he's probably regressing, so it's not good.
I wouldn't be shocked if they move Jackson to safety in the offseason. I think he could do well there just because I think he has a nose for the ball, but I don't think he has the hips that Jair Alexander has, who can turn on a dime and cover fast receivers. I don't think he has the hips to be a top-notch defensive back, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing I'm sick and tired of. I don't know anything about the actual process, but changing players' positions, that shit's got to stop. It happened way too much under Ted. If you look back at some of the drafts and some of these guys, the guys who were changing positions was astounding. And that's a very weird thing to do in the NFL level. I'm sure it happens here and there, but the Packers try to do it all the time. And it's like asking an accountant high up at I don't know, at a Fortune 500 company, be like, okay, you're an accountant, but now we want you to be head of marketing,
Right.
And it's like, whoa, we want you to VP, go from VP of accounting to VP of marketing. Excuse me?
Right.
It doesn't make sense.
And I think that's hurt them over the years. I think that has hurt the dearth of playmakers that they do not have, because they have never gone out and drafted, like, let's say for a pass rusher. I mean, let's think about the pass rushers they've drafted since 2013. Nick Perry, Dayton Jones. Those are the ones that come to mind.
I forgot about him.
They were all defensive ends that
they were in a 4-3?
Converted to an outside linebacker.
Yes.
And I would love to see them this offseason. I don't care where it is, a draft, free agency, pick up an outside linebacker or a defensive end. I don't care where it is. They just need somebody that specializes in rushing the quarterback or getting to the quarterback. They need that. And somebody that can do it with just raw talent, not by scheme. I want somebody that can do it by beating somebody one-on-one or beating a double team like Reggie White used to do. They need that difference maker that can, in a multitude of ways, get to the quarterback, because that's going to change the game. And look at yesterday, for example. Khalil Mack changed the scope of that game all by one guy.
How in God's green earth did the Raiders trade him? I mean, I get that they traded him to Chicago instead of Green Bay, thinking that Chicago was going to give them a higher pick, but he's practically like Lawrence Taylor. What?
Right.
John Gruden. I have no clue on that.
Whatever. I think that one is mostly contractual. I just don't think they were
rebuilding. I don't want to talk about another team too much, but that thing, man. I mean, John Gruden. This is his first year, right?
Yes.
Oh, and they said 10-year, $100 million.
And he's pretty much got the reign of the franchise now. I mean, he just got rid of
maybe
McKenzie,
that's what,
so.
I was going to say maybe McKenzie got fired for that, or he fired McKenzie. But I wouldn't mind. By the way, I wouldn't mind taking McKenzie back as like a scout or something. They could use that. They could use all the talent in the world, in the front office.
No doubt. I mean, I liked the pickup, and I can't remember the gentleman's name, but they picked up one of the top scouts from the Ravens to be Gutekunst's right-hand man. And I tell you what, if you watch the Ravens and the talent on their teams, they have some great talent on that defense. And even on offense, they've had, the Ray Rices of the world that have been decent players. But the talent is just great there. They have difference makers. So I'm hoping this guy can kind of incorporate that into our new outlook, into our new focus as we move forward to 2019 and beyond. I really hope that will help us out.
Yeah. Did they bench Flacco?
They did.
Holy
they
shit.
did.
How much is he making?
A lot.
Wow.
He's over 20 million. So I don't remember the exact figure.
Well, there's precedent, so maybe we could do it.
The problem with that, though, is that Flacco's towards the end of his contract, where Rodgers has another 6 years. So,
wow, yeah.
And he said he'd have a problem with it, apparently.
Yeah,
Rodgers.
Yeah, for the last 2 games, he's like, "No, I want to play." And so
if they benched him for the rest of the year,
yeah.
That's an interesting topic.
There's no reason to have him out on the field the last 2 games.
If you're talking about protecting investment and all that stuff, no doubt.
Yep.
And if I were the Packers and that's the way they feel, I would tell them, be like, look,
there's no other way to feel.
We paid you all that money. That money came from us.
Right.
So guess what?
Yeah, and that's just it. Like, not that we have to put him in his place, but like, I mean, if
You're protecting an investment.
Yeah, if you think he's amazing, you should be like, no, you gotta get your stuff straight and get your leg fixed, whatever your deal is. You focus on that. We're gonna play these meaningless games without you, and you should
get
just
your leg fixed. Sounds like
you should just get in the gym, whatever you gotta do, read some books.
Elliot, I couldn't agree with you more, but I think Mark Murphy's going to have a say in this whole equation. And you think you think about sitting Aaron Rodgers the last 2 games. Can you imagine what the attendance will be at Lambeau the last game of the year?
Doesn't matter. They sold out already. Doesn't matter. Like, they don't.
Right.
It doesn't matter. That has nothing to do with the finances. There's nothing. There's no reason for that.
Maybe he could have Aaron Rodgers build a sledding hill. Give him a project to do the next couple games. Oh my God!
And honestly, like, Kaiser did not look great in preseason, but whatever. I mean, we don't care if we win or lose. We really don't, because like, whatever. It's gonna impact the draft pick by 1 place or something. Whatever. Let Kaiser go out there.
Honestly, we need to see that. We need to see him. We need to see what he can do. We truly do.
And we need to backup quarterbacks.
Yeah, we need to be I mean, that's part of what put us in this position in the first place, right? Is that we had Rodgers out on the field before he was completely healed. We all know that. We knew it going into it. But we're like, oh, no, for God's sakes, don't put Kaiser out there. A feeble Aaron Rodgers is better than anybody. And I don't think that's true. And Kaiser really didn't get a fair shake at it.
You're talking about last year?
I'm talking about this year.
This year.
Yeah, the beginning of the season, when you had your incident.
Oh, shit. Wait a minute. Stop. I saw the first regular season. Oh, you're talking the first couple games?
I mean, he was hurt.
Okay.
Like that.
Okay, I know what you're saying. I was thinking something else. Sorry.
And he's probably still hurt. And even if he's not truly hurt, he's mentally or emotionally hurt, where he's being too cautious. He's way too cautious in the wrong ways. Which, if you're, it's a balance, right? So if you're too cautious in one way, then you're gonna be. You're just not going to be good at the others, So he's taking too much time because he's cautious, doesn't want to throw a pick, but then he gets sacked or he has to throw it away, and all these things just snowball.
That's an interesting point. I mean, let's call it what it is. The offensive line has been dog shit this year. I mean, a lot of it's due to injuries. Others just hasn't played very well. Yada yada yada. But on top of that, Rodgers is looking down the rush.
Do you really think so, though? Look at how much time he has.
Yes, and the offensive line has not been very good this year.
It has been below average.
Below average is fine.
Not with the top 8 quarterback. It is not.
Well, I mean, let me put it this way.
I'm not making excuses for it, but the guy he used to be the quick draw guy, and now he seems like he's taking longer than anybody else.
Don't forget his line earlier, though. His line before, about 2 or 3 years ago, he had a 3 or 4 year stretch where it was frickin'. You had, God damn it, who was the? Well, I guess was it? I want to make sure I have the years right. It'd be a Bakhtiari, Sitton, Corey Linsley. Before that, Scott Wells. He had a damn good line.
Yeah, good guys, absolutely.
But that helps the quarterback so much. So I'm kind of getting at here is part of the reason Rodgers hasn't played well this year, and it is some of his own fault, but it happens to all quarterbacks, is if you're getting pressure 1 second after the snap, you start to look down at the rush. It happens to every quarterback, not just shitty ones, where you're like, oh, he's always doing that. I mean, how many times have we seen where literally he snaps and the right side of the line is like turnstile, gone. I mean, he doesn't even have time to get the snap barely, that is not helping things. Should Aaron Rodgers do better than that? Yes, but those things are definitely not helping either. The whole right side of the line was just a freaking sieve most of the damn year.
And I would say too, Lane Taylor has had a substandard year as well.
Yeah.
The left guard. I don't think he's been very good this year.
I agree.
Multiple times on tape that I've seen him give up. In fact, the first sack yesterday that Khalil Mack had, there was a stunt, and he caved inside, and Corey Linsley had the guy, but he caved inside, and then David Bakhtiari was sitting there trying to block two guys. So it was not a good move on his part. But he's been really not very good this year.
I agree. There's been some other weird stuff going on this year. Like I can't remember his name, Zach Cruz. I think it's Packers News Packers Wire. Yep. Anyway, he was talking about doing some film study, and he was talking about a couple plays where I can't remember the game, but he basically said the Packers had 7 guys in for protection, and the opponent rushed 4, and Rodgers was sacked in less than 2 seconds. Uh-huh. That's insane. Uh-huh. That is horrific.
And
I mean, you cannot have that.
No, you're right. And David Bakhtiari, I thank him for being out there yesterday, but he was hurt. His knee is hurting him. And when Khalil Mack was going up against him, it really made David Bakhtiari look kind of poor. He didn't look very good against such a supreme talent and that guy. And here's the thing. This is what we have to consider going forward is we have Khalil Mack for the rest of Aaron Rodgers' career. So are we going to go into every season with a offensive line that can't block for more than 2 seconds with him out there? Yikes. And then you have Minnesota with Everson Griffin and Danielle Hunter. You have some dynamic pass rushers in this NFC North that we seriously need to protect our investment if we're going to be getting anything out of them.
That line has been a problem. Now, part of it I would say too is, you're going to have injuries everywhere. Every team does. And I'm sure you'd agree with this, Jeremy, that the depth collectively on this team, the talent in general isn't very good, but there is no depth anywhere. And the depth on the offensive line is like, oh boy, right. That's the fact that they didn't sign, even like somewhat of a journeyman who's just even average. That's better, almost I would say significantly better than our backups.
Right.
And the fact that they don't see that or don't care about that or just dismiss that. And I'm talking about Murphy or Murphy, like he's the GM, or I don't know, Murphy, Gutekunst, or whoever, you know what I mean? The fact that the quadrilateral authority doesn't see that and go, we can't have this. That's a problem to me. That philosophy and that it just doesn't make sense.
Right. And I think what coming into this season, what really put us behind the 8 ball is the lack of competition. When you have competition from top to bottom across your roster, it really breeds a lot of success because guys are fighting every single day to keep their job.
That's a good point. It's so freaking cushy in Green Bay. If you're a draft pick, you're on the team. Period. End story. Period. End story.
Right. But
doesn't matter what round, doesn't matter
there was literally, when we came into training camp, what were the big battles? What were the big position battles coming into the year?
Oh, I know what they were. It was Mark Murphy versus Brian Gutekunst.
No, you're right. That is true.
Versus Russ Ball about who gets the corner office.
Yeah. But that's exactly where you don't want it. You want clear lines of authority in management, and
I say that tongue in cheek, but it's
no. But you're right. That's totally true, and that's
the big
problem.
Position battle.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Compared to anything else, absolutely.
Yeah. But on the field, there were no significant position battles. There were no this whoever wins this is going to be the starter type deal. There was none of that. It was pretty much the top 22 were handed their position. Justin McCray was given the right guard position without any competition. Cole Madison, whatever happens to him, I hope he's well. But we need him back because I think he would have made a difference this year. But we went into the year with like I said, Justin McCray, a complete abomination on the right guards, and we thought that he was going to be the answer. He's truly not. We could go across the board. There was no true competition anywhere on this team.
Yeah, that's not good. I wonder how many other teams have a situation like that. Can't be many others unless you're a shitty team. I don't know.
Right.
But yeah, if you're a draft pick in Green Bay, you make the team, unless you know, I don't know, do something terrible, get some nudes of the coach or something. but yeah, that's not good, because you can't just be handed jobs like that. And they didn't. I from what I understand, this was, to your guys' point, this was around the E. coli thing, so I don't remember anything. They, from what I understand, they weren't doing any real practicing either. The Packers themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know they get only a certain amount of practices, but most of their teams were doing a lot of practicing in training camp, and the Packers were not. Is that true?
Would you say that their practices were less physical than other teams? You could say that, but I mean, they're mandated by the 26 practice rule, where you can actually have pads on and hit. So you have to abide by that. That was a CBA thing that came around in 2011, and it cut down on teams' development with their rookies. I think back in the day, rookies had more of a head start getting into the year because they were able to get out there and hit and practice their tackling techniques and such. But now it's all, non-padded, pretty much patty caking, like Andy says. It's nothing really that simulates game time. It just doesn't, so there's a reason why we always start out really slow, and I think it's because of the CBA rule, but also McCarthy never really put the focus on making sure his starters were ready for the year. He was all about building the depth behind the starters.
Yeah, that is one thing under McCarthy that annoyed the piss out of me. He didn't do it every year, but I'd say 80% of the time he was here, he started out way too slow. The whole team did, and everybody's always wondering this, that, and I don't know. Whatever he was doing wasn't working. And if I don't want to compare everything to Belichick and Brady and the Patriots, but if we are supposed, and I'll say we, this was with McCarthy, with Rodgers, with whatever, during the quote heyday of the talent, we'll say in the mid 2000s, right, or mid 2010s or whatever. If we were closer to them, we would probably mirror what they would be doing for practicing and scheduling and things like that. But I don't know. I'm just kind of thinking out loud on that, because my dad always says, the Patriots in a shit division. Well, yeah, they are, but the Packers weren't exactly in a great division. The NFC North hasn't been that great. Is it turned around? Yeah, the Bears look pretty good, stuff like that, but they haven't been the greatest division. It's been the Packers for a long time, but they've always kind of struggled to either win the division, even under McCarthy with Rodgers, or struggled sometimes to even make the playoffs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm getting at the Patriots, they got the freaking division locked up 15 straight years, by like week 10. And I'm being facetious there, but, they are concerned about getting home field advantage. Beat whoever the hell's in front of you too.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where go ahead.
No, go ahead, Andy.
Well, I think in the message exchanges that you and I had, Jeremy, we were talking about how McCarthy, to me, he never game planned for teams.
Right.
He basically just said, we're going to do what we're going to do. We're not going to sit down and try and find creative ways to beat this team, scheme around this team. We're going to do what we do, and we're going to beat them. And that bit him in the ass the last few years. You look at a Belichick coach team, and they would scheme how to beat every team in front of them differently.
Right.
Going back to when they played us. Look at the shit they were. They ran 3 trick plays. They turned a wide receiver, Cordarrelle Patterson, into a standard running back with like a blocking fullback mid-game. That's amazing. Now, is that Belichick doing that, or is that McDaniels? I don't really give a shit. Belichick coaches the team. He's allowing that, and he's got to sign off on the game plan, right? So that stuff, I always love that about them, is they will do what they need to do to beat the team in front of them. Whereas McCarthy's just like, we're going to do what we're going to do to hell with who's in front of us. That doesn't work anymore.
Mm-hmm. So. Right, especially when your team is very limited. Which we are.
Mm-hmm.
And I will point out a little stat that's interesting as well. Since free agency took hold in 1993, No team has won a Super Bowl with a QB making over 13.5% or taking over 13.5% of their salary cap.
Wow.
Interesting. So Brady has never, think about that. Wow. Brady has never been over that.
No, right.
That was the question I was going to ask earlier. Sorry, guys. Do you think, now obviously Rodgers was going to be the highest paid, all that, this, that, or the other. And I'd love to be a fly on the wall. I have no idea, but let's just put it out there. Everybody says, Brady takes less money so they can get a better team around him. And I'm sure he does to a certain point, or they structure his contract differently. I don't know all the ins and outs of that, but to me, part of me thinks Rodgers took the biggest contract and wanted the biggest contract because he's looking at, and he knows his legacy. He wants to stay with Green Bay. He could obviously go somewhere else and it'd be a bidding war and all that. I get that, but he just knows how the team operates, and he knows that even if he takes less money, they're not going to use it to get better around him. So he's like, "Fuck this! I'm going to take the biggest contract I can get because I know how they operate." Does that make sense?
It does, but I mean, how does he know? And I guess he obviously knows better than what we do, but how does he know how Gutekunst is going to operate? Does he know that he's going to be a Ted Thompson too? I mean,
maybe he does. Maybe he does.
God,
maybe that's a passive-aggressive, hint to say he's not going to be much different than Ted. I'm taking, what I mean? I don't. That's kind of a, I'm really going down the conspiracy hole there, but it makes me think about that though. Because if Rodgers and guys like him truly care about winning and putting together a good team and rings and all that, why would he not do the things like a Brady does?
Right.
Contract structuring.
This team did not have to sign him to that extension this offseason. He had 2 more years left on his contract. Sure. So there was no rhyme or reason. The only reason why they did it is because they knew that unbeknowingly, they knew that his salary was going to continue to go up just because the rest of the league was going to be,
sure.
The next guy is going to get paid more than Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, sure.
So I get that, but it put them in a real tough position now, where in the future here they're tied to him, and they're tied to him in more ways than one. Yeah. And this team is going to be very limited with its ability to field a competitive roster around him. And I'll still say this: they're not going to win another Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. They aren't.
Okay, here's a question for you. I hear everything you say and it makes sense. I mean, and again, I don't know, this is a hypothetical, but do you think there's any possibility Rodgers would restructure
to help
down the road?
Save salary cap space?
Yeah.
I would say if they're close, why wouldn't you? Let's say next year they go into the year, they get a new coaching staff, and they have a real exciting year. Let's say they finish 11-5, they win the NFC North, they get to the NFC Championship, they get the blood flowing again. Would he, in the maybe the next year, a year after, possibly embrace restructuring? I would think so. I would think he'd be a smart guy to do that. I would think that having a salary that's $30-some million, when he can take it all up front in a signing bonus per se, or a roster bonus, whatever it may be, why wouldn't you take that money when it's going to be handed to you instead of having to play it out to get it? I would think he would.
I would hope he would. I just have no idea. Has he ever restructured his contract before? I don't think he has.
Ooh, that's a good question.
I don't think he has. I mean, I have no idea, but I don't think he has. And kind of, you can tell where I'm going with some of this is that he's going to get his, right? And I firmly believe that a huge part of the reason why he's going to get his in the past is because he knows. And now this was Ted. You're right. This was under Ted. This is the first year of Gutekunst. We don't know for sure, but he knew, and he's known. Ted is not going to go out and sign free agents. They're not going to do trades, and Mike's not going to come up with a great offense, and tweak his offense, So he's just like, okay, since I know it's not going to happen, I'm just going to get mine.
But if you're a team player, why would you have that mentality of it's I'm just going to get it. I'm just going to get it. I'm done.
Well, he doesn't come across that way, but I'm thinking like passive aggressively. That's what he's doing, so to speak. He makes it look like, I don't know. It is kind of conspiracy type theory stuff, but everybody keeps talking, and the Packers kept saying, we're going to make him the highest paid quarterback. We're going to do this. And Rodgers never said they don't have to, you know what I mean? I heard that over and over and over. We're going to make, he's the highest paid quarterback. We're going to make him the highest paid quarterback. He's going to be this. He's going to be that. Why? No one ever talked about rings or spreading out money. It was always dead set on doing that. And Rodgers never said anything different.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I have no viable reasons why. I mean, the media was just they were eating this up alive.
Yeah.
But internally, was there pressure internally to do this? I don't see why. You know, they were very steadfast at the end of last year, saying that we don't need to sign Aaron to any extension. We have 2 more years of him. Why do we need to do that?
Well, to your point, I don't remember that due to memory loss. What changed that they said they have to do it then?
I don't know. I truly don't know.
Well, you know what it could be? The Quadrilateral Authority was formed, and then all bets are off.
Well, I think part of it was probably trying to appease Rodgers. I think they knew that
could be.
They knew that he was kind of a little sullen with how things have transpired since the 2016 season. You know, was it just kind of a way to passive aggressively keep him happy? Yeah, could be.
That's a good point.
Exactly.
That's a good point.
And you got to remember, we came off of, you know, another year where it looked like he was the whole team.
Right.
And
right.
I mean, I would have been right there with him in the summer. I'm sure I was saying, yeah, just pay him. We don't really have a choice. I still feel like that's probably the best thing, but like, can we have the old guy back? Who is this guy that's playing now? He's not the same player.
Yeah. Yep. Maybe, I mean, again, I'll throw this out there too. Maybe we're going to find out how injured he really was. Maybe it takes a long, long time to come back from 13 screws and you're throwing shoulder, collarbone. Maybe muscles up there. And I'm just, again, I don't know. That, his knee, maybe there are other issues going on somewhere else. I don't know. But, the other thing that I think about a lot too is everybody has said, let's say since, I don't know, 2012 or whatever, it might be around that time after the Super Bowl. That was when kind of the what's the word I'm thinking of? The undercurrent of thought from even around the league, fans, everybody else was that this team isn't very good. Rodgers is the whole team, you know. How far back do you think that started to happen? I don't really know. But what I'm getting at there is, if there was truth to that for years and years and years and years and years, and Ted and nobody else did anything about it, here's my question: why? Why did they do that? Why would you put that much pressure on one person? Even if he is your star quarterback, why is my question. Why?
What's the real alternative?
Build a better team. You know,
that takes more than a season, really.
Yeah, but what I'm getting at is, I think they knew for season upon season. I said maybe 5+ years is what I'm getting at, that they knew. What I go back to is, I think a lot of it was Ted didn't give a shit. Ted drafted Aaron. Ted you know what I mean? Ted had a hold over Aaron because 25 other teams or whatever passed on him. So there was this weird dynamic there, and Ted's just like, I'm gonna do it my way. Fuck you, you know. When in reality, maybe Ted did know this team isn't very good, but I don't know. But it's patently obvious that Rodgers has carried this team for 7 or 8 years. He has been what's holding this team together. When he goes down, the team sucks, you know, and that is clear as day. So maybe it's kind of more of a, the question is a little too vague, so to speak, but I look at it and I keep going back. Why didn't Murphy tell Ted, get some fucking free agents in here, get some depth, get some better picks, you know, somebody put some pressure on him, do something different. Now, to your point, Elliot, though, I mean, it is a different play. It takes years, plural, but they've known for almost a decade that this is what it is. Anybody with 2 eyes can see it. I've always wondered Why did they do it that way? Why would you put that much pressure on one guy? I don't know.
All right. Well, I'll be devil's advocate a little bit. They did try bringing in the guy from the Patriots. They brought in Jimmy Graham.
Bennett.
Yeah.
Graham.
And I don't know. You guys are smarter than I am, but I thought those two guys looked like they could work out.
Right. I did too.
Going into it. So I don't know. I mean,
I hear what you're saying.
They're trying things, and it just isn't clicking.
I'll say this, and I don't want to be nitpicking this stuff, but the two players you mentioned right there, they were two tight ends, right? And they were two tight ends that were.
Yep. And I feel like that's a weekend. That's a weakness that we have.
Two tight ends. Yeah, I agree. Aging past their prime, but it's like if you look at the collective team, defense, offense, everywhere really. Let's say they still aren't very good, and so Aaron Rodgers was carrying the team on his back on everything, special teams, everything. So if you're bringing in a couple spot players here and there, I don't know, I'm probably kind of rambling on this, but that's what I've kind of been thinking about is I don't understand why they would do that for year upon year upon year upon year.
Because they're weak. Crosby missed 5 field goals and we keep him around.
Now that you mentioned it, now it's brought a thought to my mind. Why? Ever since we lost a traditional good GM, I mean, Ted Thompson truly was not a GM past 2013.
He was a scout. He was a scout.
He was a glorified scout. He should have been in a nursing home. I mean, he truly did not have that talent that he did have back when he was with Seattle, back when he first.
And he also lost the brain drain. The Reggie
he lost the brain drain.
The Brian or the John Schneider, John Dorsey, and he never replaced him.
And this is the part that bothers me, and this is the part that concerns me with Mark Murphy is how did it take a 2017 year where Aaron Rodgers goes down, the team pretty much fails. Why did it take that to finally understand that, you know what? Wow, this team really stinks.
I agree
Without
with
Aaron Rodgers, this team is not that good.
Yeah.
So we don't have a true football mind on this team, directing this team on the field. We have a great business guy who can build a great Titletown district and can build a great Lambeau Field that can bring in revenue all 12 months out of the year. But do we have a guy that can put a competitive team on the field, or one guy, just one guy that can put a competitive team in the field and know how to do it?
Truly, a GM with all the authority.
Right.
To your point, I think Mark Murphy hasn't said it, and I think he would deny it, but I think he knows it, that he was playing with his little, the business side over there, and he missed getting rid of Ted by 3 years. He missed it, and I don't know how he missed it. I don't know if people went to him and said, "Hey, how he missed that, I have no idea." But it's egregious. It's egregious that he missed it by that much. And also, if it's true that he was going to hire Russ Ball as the GM, I don't even know what to say about that. That's the fact that it's almost like the fact that he doesn't think. Well, it's the fact that he doesn't think, Mark Murphy doesn't think that even thinking about hiring Russ Ball as a GM is a problem tells me that's a problem. That you don't think that, then we have a problem, because Russ Ball is not a scout. He's a bean counter. That's what he is. He's not a GM. He is I'm sure he's a good guy. He's good at what he does, but he is basically an accountant. He is not a scout who can develop and see player talent. He negotiates contracts. That's not who you want as a GM. Why in the hell? So that's where from what I understand, heard, that's where McCarthy came in and said, "Whoa, no. You're not hiring Ball." And kind of that's when he got into the mix and started to get the input and push for Gutekunst. Is that true?
Partially, yeah.
And if that's true, I don't blame him. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, he cockblocked them. I mean, no doubt.
But I don't. Again, if I was McCarthy, I wouldn't blame him. I wouldn't blame him. I'd be like, we need a talent evaluator as a GM, not a bean counter.
Well, and I guess that's what concerns me going into this offseason. Mark Murphy has already come out and said that they're not going to use an outside firm to help in their search for the coaching staff.
I thought he said they were going to.
No, they're not going to.
Mm.
The last I've heard, which was a couple days ago. So truly, we're going to go into this offseason with Mark Murphy deciding who's going to lead this team next year and in the future.
You know who's going to be the coach? I know who it's going to be. I know exactly who it's going to be.
Call it.
Mark Murphy.
Seriously? God.
That would be awesome. He comes out there. I'm here today to name the new head coach of the Green Bay Packers. And then he puts on a Green Bay Packer hat and he says, "It's me, baby. It be me."
Man.
Sorry. It just popped in my head. I mean, like, that'd be funny as shit, you know?
Oh my God, you're drunk.
I quit drinking 2 years ago, but
Well,
I'm still silly, is what I am.
oh my gosh, that's terrible.
It is terrible. It is terrible. But if you're someone like Mark Murphy, you're like, wait a minute, I want to get more pull here, and I want to be the final say in this. Maybe I know how to do it. How can I be the final say in everything? I'll name me as the head coach. So
He already has the final say in everything. What more would he want to be a head coach for?
He doesn't. I mean, you're just being silly, but I mean,
Yes.
but in all truthfulness, like we don't know what direction they want to go.
yeah.
And that's
This next year, the off
Scary.
season and all of next year, this is going to be a very, 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 very interesting time. Very interesting time. We're going to learn.
I think we need to have a
so much.
segment every week, like called like Coach Watch or something, where we like break down who the latest rumor is, and
Yes.
I think that'd be interesting.
Yeah, and coaching news and Packers news in general, I think we should definitely continue that.
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
You could do, we used to remember. I think for a while we used to do here and there those Facebook Live recaps after games.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's something we could Facebook Live. Actually, not a bad idea at all. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
If you got something in your head and you got an opinion or whatever, just Facebook Live it on Absolute Packer. That'd be a good idea. Because rumors are going to heat up. I mean, you can't hire anybody right now in the NFL because anybody who's under contract or whatever. But anybody who's on the street or in college, you can supposedly look at. But who the hell knows?
So do you think that they would take a college coach?
I
Really?
think there's a chance. If you know who it'd be the guy from Northwestern. I've heard he could be a candidate because Mark Murphy hired him when he was athletic director at Northwestern. What's his name?
God.
Is it Pat Fitzgerald?
Pat Fitzgerald.
Yeah.
Oh, please no.
Hey, baby.
Please no. If you're going to hire Fitzgerald, which he played defense back in his days, you better have one hell of it. I mean, a dynamic offensive coordinator. I mean, whether it's Josh McDaniels, excuse me, you're going to need somebody of that stature because Fitzgerald's obviously not going to lead that charge. He's going to be more focused on the defensive side of it.
Well, you know who would be the great offensive coordinator? Mark Murphy. Oh man, I'm on a roll, baby. Sorry,
Just Mark Murphy, the whole team.
I couldn't help myself. First game, Mark Murphy's throwing the Statue of Liberty. He's got 15 trick plays out of the bag.
Going forward on 4th and 26.
Oh man, I was at that game. Please do not bring it up.
Yeah.
But
So,
no, it's going to be that. As I think about it, there really haven't been any. I'll call it hot rumors. I mean, there's been like, what about this guy? But not anybody like quote unquote connected to the Packers in the search yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's all just been kind of what if this guy, what if that guy. So
Right.
you would
so
think.
I was thinking about like when do you think they'll announce it? I mean, like right after the season, or you think
That's-
they'll
I have
wait a
no
few
idea.
months?
No, it's
I
going
have no
to
idea.
take some time. I don't know how long, but it'll take some time because they're going to, once the season's done, they're going to sit down, they're going to have a prime quarter steak, and they're going to discuss what everything happened, and then they're going to,
They're
obviously
going to go down the sledding hill,
go down the sledding hill.
hand in hand.
Prime quarter sounds really good right now, man. I'm hungry.
Sorry.
No beef for me. No beef for me.
Don't say that. Jeez, I was hankering for a steak, and now you had to ruin it.
You want to
Let's
hear
go,
something
Elliot.
funny? You want to hear something funny? So this weekend it was like a family get together for the holidays, and my brother-in-law, they sent him out to buy all this food and prepare and all that. So I come into the kitchen, and he's probably got about 5 pounds of ground beef. And I turned, and it was still sealed, thank the Lord. And I looked at it, and I looked over my brother-in-law, and I said to him, I said, "You're dead to me." For all those anybody listening, it's E. coli. Will
okay, Andy? You know, your idea of funny is seriously warped, man.
And that's a problem.
Well, so we go from talking about coaches eating steak and going sledding to remember I almost died, and then I made a joke about it.
Yep.
This isn't. You're crazy.
Yeah, I'm out there. I agree, but hey, I will say this: I make fun of everything and anything, and if you have jokes, if anybody has jokes about the whole E. coli thing, I bring them on, baby. You got to make fun of it.
Too soon.
Hey, speak of the devil, they I didn't realize this, but at Skyline Comedy in Appleton, every Wednesday they have open mic night. I'm gonna go down there and do a set pretty soon. I'm telling you.
Oh my God.
3 to 5 minutes.
When you do,
how does your brain work? How do you make these associations?
Well, I found out, I didn't even know it, and then I was on LinkedIn, and somebody said, "Hey, I just did my first ever stand-up comedy set. I've always wanted to do it as like a bucket list thing." And I was like, "Oh shit!" So I messaged him, and I was like, "Where did you do it? How long did you?" Because I'd never even really thought about it.
Yeah, I'll go down if you do it.
yes,
hell yes. I don't know when it's going to be, but I got 3 to 5 minutes, and I will put together a quote unquote little set with some bits, and I guarantee you some of it's going to be me making fun of myself or me making fun of the E. coli stuff. So the humor will be all over the place.
and your show will be called Murphy Talk.
Oh God.
It'll be called the what's 5-sided quadrilateral. What's 5-sided? The Pentagon of Authority.
We'll have to. I'm going to send an invitation to Mark Murphy to join us.
Nice. Oh Lord. So yeah, this one really went off the rails, but.
So we have another game coming up this weekend against the Jets in the Meadowlands in New York. Anybody have any thoughts on that game? Is Aaron going to play? Are we going to actually win our first road game of the year, considering that we're one of 2 teams that have not won a road game, us and the San Francisco 49ers?
You know what? I don't have any idea. I hate to say this, but I don't have any idea, and I really don't care if Aaron Rodgers starts the rest of these games. But the fact that, to your point, they are winless on the road this year is.
That's the first time since the 1990-91 season.
From what I understand, they've lost their last 9 because they lost their last 2 road games last year. So it's if you go all consecutive, that is unbelievable.
Yeah,
man.
So I don't think they'll have Kaiser play at all, and which is ridiculous.
So you're saying the Rodgers will play both games?
Yeah, and that's stupid. In every way, it's stupid.
Yeah, I hate to say it, like I said, but I don't care. I mean, I don't want to look. I'll say this: I don't want him to get hurt, but if he plays, I don't give a shit. If Kaiser plays, I really don't give a shit either.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, as we stand today, the Packers hold the 11th draft pick in next year's draft.
Okay.
How many? Oh wait, Gutekunst actually did pretty good getting draft picks. How many we have 2 first-round draft picks next year, don't we? Okay.
Right.
I think so. When's the well, they're picking 11th, and then they got the other one from New Orleans, right?
Yeah, right. Which will be at the end of the first round, but they'll still be a first rounder.
Okay, he got a 4th for Clinton Dix.
Yeah, and Clinton Dix is being benched in Washington.
I remember when he traded Clinton Dix for a 4th. I'm like, God damn it! And because I was like, this is terrible. Wow, did he do a good job there?
He did.
That was a freaking steal.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Good on him on that.
So I think that's it. I've run out of steam.
Yeah. I gotta go get a steak. I have to do my more rehab on my pinched nerve now. So lovely.
Boy, you're an old
Ouch.
man.
I know. The injuries keep coming. Actually, the pinched nerve is somewhat gone, but I did confirm I have a bulging disc. So I have that I got an MRI last week for sure. So yeah, but I mean, it's not the end of the world or anything, but it's not fun. So
No.
I will come back stronger than ever, work harder than ever.
Hey, if anybody wants to debate, talk about the Packers, give us a ring. Leave us a voicemail, 508-535-5468. I would embrace anybody who wants to challenge me on Aaron Rodgers and his ability or his inability to carry this team this year. Please do leave a voicemail. I'll take that and
Good call. Good call.
Yeah, well, it could be a good call. We'll see. I mean, people are, I think they've been very split. It was either like, I feel like they weren't spreading the accountability around enough because, I feel like, it's not all Aaron Rodgers' fault. Yep. Offensive line, defense, but he has some responsibility and his attitudes.
I was saying, I think before you popped on, Elliot, Jeremy and I were saying that basically it's almost split right down the middle, that there's a camp where Rodgers is a golden god, and it's almost as if Ted and Mike were trying to destroy his career. That's like one, seriously, that's like one side of the table. And then the other side is kind of, way on the other side where Rodgers is absolutely horrible. He has no more talent. And, there's nothing in the middle there. It's interesting.
Well, when you look at the bang for the buck, man, we're getting ripped off.
Right.
God, that's right.
I'll leave this one passing thought on Rodgers. We've all been giving him a lot of credit for our past success, right? I mean, everybody, including even, Ted Thompson and everybody else.
Nope.
He also deserves blame for this year's failures as well. Not all.
Oh, yeah.
He's a part of that equation.
I completely agree. Think about this. When you talk about bang for buck, Elliott, he leads the NFL in throwaways for like 25 throwaways.
And incompletions.
So you're talking each throwaway is probably...
Oh God! Don't even.
$500,000.
Yeah, it's crazy.
He the next closest guy literally is like 20 or 25 behind. The next closest.
I know.
Not good.
Yeah, he's got to tighten things up.
And to even think that he leads the league in incompletions too, mind-boggling.
Yeah, who is this guy? Yeah.
Right.
I don't know. And it's just weird. Like I said, we're all kind of like, what the hell is it? Because some of this stuff just doesn't make sense. It does not compute.
Yep.
You can't go from Aaron Rodgers MVP level type light the league on fire to just basement dweller over one offseason. I don't care if you wanted to get McCarthy fired or not. I don't care injuries. That doesn't compute. It does not make sense.
It's entirely possible when Mark Murphy is leading your franchise.
Ooh, This is very true. Got me there. Maybe actually, you know who the quarterback's coach is this year or next year?
All right, we're done.
All right, we'll stop.
Go Pack, go.
Go Pack, go.
Go Pack, go.
Podcast.
Chair.
I know, right?